I almost always shoot color film, so I kind of shocked myself about a year ago when I backed the Kosmo Foto Agent Shadow Kickstarter. I bought a brick of 10 rolls of film just to see what it was like. Now, a couple of months ago on this channel, I did a video about 8 films to look forward to in 2022. And in last place, in 8th place, I put Kosmo Foto's Agent Shadow. Now, nothing against Agent Shadow, nothing against Kosmo Foto. It's just that there was 2 reasons why I put it there. Firstly, it's not actually a new film, it's just a rebadged film. And secondly, I'm not a black and white shooter, so my prejudice against black and white was coming into play there. Now, of course, we don't know exactly what this film is, although there are strong suspicions that it is Kentmere 400. Of course, post-Brexit, the situation in the UK between getting goods in and out of the country seamlessly has kind of been destroyed with Brexit. So it makes sense that Kosmo Foto would look for a local manufacturer and supplier of film rather than getting it from, say, Europe. So looking at the box of film here, I think it's beautifully designed. It's one of the best designed packs of film I've ever seen. There's a couple of different reliefs there of Agent Shadow. One is a horizontal sort of aspect, and there's a silhouette with sort of 3 different Agent Shadows, red, white, and blue there. And on the other side, you've got this sort of portrait style picture of Agent Shadow looking very cool with some kind of almost like neon sort of sign in the background. I actually thought it'd be like matte sort of cardboard, but it's kind of like shiny gloss cardboard. And again, most film is sort of branded. When they brand the film on the canister, it's usually in a horizontal aspect, right? Well, Agent Shadow here is vertical on the canister, which again, I think is really cool. It gives it a very different sort of feel to a lot of other film branding, so I really like it. Now, one of the reasons that it's called Agent Shadow is because Kosmo Foto say that you can push this film up to ISO 1600, ISO 3200, ISO 6400. So of course, as someone who's pushed color film quite often with good results, I thought, why not? I'm going to shoot this at ISO 1600. It's a native 400 speed film. So shooting at ISO 1600, I'll get my lab to push it to stops. I shot it in my Fujifilm Klasse S. I dialed in ISO 1600 and off I went. I've got about 20 or so photos here to show you. Some of them I'll give you commentary on, other ones I'll just describe where they are. I'm not a big black and white shooter, so I don't really have a lot to say about the images other than if I like them or not. The one thing I will say, and we'll have a look at this when we have a look at the contact sheet in a second, the images seem to be a little bit underexposed. So I was shooting on my Fujifilm Klasse S, which has excellent metering, never usually have an issue. I'd say if I did shoot this film again, I don't know, I think perhaps if I was going to push it 2 stops again, I might actually shoot it at ISO 1250 next time. I just feel like some of the images could have done with a bit of extra light. So let's get into it. I've got the contact sheet here, you can probably see on screen right now. And again, I actually got this back at the same time as my Cine Still roll where I pushed it 3 stops. So I got both of these contact sheets back at the same time, and I have to say I was feeling disappointed in both of them. They both looked a bit underdeveloped. As we look through the images, I think it doesn't look as bad as this view. I think there are some images that actually look really nice and really good. Again, you've got to bear in mind that I was shooting this roll in quite dark conditions. I wasn't going out during the daytime for the most part. I was shooting this in darkness or near darkness just to see what the film would do, trying to push it to its limits a bit. So the first image here is at Wynnum. You can just sort of see the railway bridge there and some buildings with some lights on. Not a lot of detail in this one. Yeah, perhaps it could do with another 1 stop of light or something like that. As for the blacks and the tones of the blacks, I don't know, I'm not a black and white shooter. After you look through all these images, I'd be interested to see what you think of this film and how it compares to other black and white films, bearing in mind that we think it is Kentmere 400. So let's go to the next image. This one is a much nicer image. I like this one. This is a fish and chip shop in Cleveland, near where I live. And you've got the nice sort of artificial lights of the fish and chip shop, and you've got the sort of nice dusk sort of ambient light behind it. So I really like that one. I think this frame looks really good. The next one was taken just before this. Yeah, it's interesting. Some images look quite dark and sort of inky blacks and stuff like that. Other ones look a bit like they have less contrast in them. And certainly this is an image here with a bit less contrast to me, but I do really like it. There's a lot of detail there in the shadows. It's just a little building here in Cleveland. But yeah, you can sort of see quite a lot of detail across this frame. So yeah, I really like this image. The next one is just a close-up of some trees. I was looking upwards and I thought those sort of seed pods looked cool, so I took an image of that. The one after is at Kapalaba here. I think this was taken late in the afternoon around dusk, and you've just got the nice palm trees there with the moon there coming out. So yeah, that one's more of a daytime picture, but I think that looks pretty cool. This one was taken at Wynnum at night in the dark. It is a service station, a gas station, a petrol station. And look, that one's turned out really well. You know, like there's a lot of detail there in the petrol station with all the signs and the equipment there. So I think Agent Shadow looks really cool in this picture. This one's a little bit darker. This is taken at Victoria Point. There's a bit of a bar there called Long Island, and you've got the nice fairy lights there. Again, I do like this image. I think it looks good, but I think it perhaps could have benefited from, you know, another half a stop or another stop of light there just to get a bit more detail in the shadow. This one is of a restaurant. I like the sort of the crossing leading into the restaurant there, and I think inside the restaurant itself it actually looks really good. I don't think it's a brilliant image, but hey, it was almost dark at this stage, so I think it's done a pretty good job. This is a different restaurant at Victoria Point. I was looking in the window and I just snapped this picture, and handheld, you know, ISO 1600, it's quite dark, but I think this looks great. I think this is a really nice picture. Again, it probably lacks a little bit of contrast, but there is quite a lot of detail in the shadow there and quite a lot of detail in the frame, so I think it looks good. This is at about the same time, looking across the road to some sort of shops. Looks okay, haven't got a lot to say about that one. This is at Victoria Point at the seaside there. Again, it's you know, not a lot of sort of detail in that in terms of the sky or anything. It's just like grey sort of looking seaside picture. We're back in Cleveland now, and this is just some buildings here, and I really like the lights we're on in these buildings. And so yeah, there's not a lot of detail in the shadow. It's quite dark, but I really like this one. I think this looks really good. I really like how those windows sort of make the picture. And now I was in the valley in Brisbane. There's a place called Fortitude Valley where a lot of the nightclubs and restaurants are. I was actually inspired to go there from my friend Nathan McGee, who took a whole load of pictures there in one of his videos. I went there, I probably went there too late. It was actually dark by this stage, so I would like to go back when there's still a bit of light in the sky around dusk. These were taken after the sun had gone down a long time. These are just some sort of grills, I think, on a building with some light coming through. And the next one is of a brewery, Soapbox Beer, and you can sort of see you know, the building there with some cars going by. It looks pretty cool. And this is a close-up of the Soapbox Beer sort of building, and I think those sort of lines, those vertical lines there, I think they were barrels maybe, I can't actually tell. Again, this is an image where it's a little bit undercooked, probably needed another stop or half a stop of exposure there. But you know, the neon sign looks great. Perhaps the Klasse S was sort of metering for that neon sign rather than other parts of the frame there. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Also, there's details in the video description on how you can buy me a coffee if you enjoy my content. The next image is of one of Brisbane's notorious spots, I think, from the past. It was well known in the vice scene of 1980s Brisbane. I think it used to be called Bubbles Bathhouse. It's been reinvented now, and it's Les Boubelles. I think it's like a sort of like a little bar and stuff like that, restaurant. The neon sign looks great. I just wished I'd gone a little bit earlier in the evening. In fact, I think I couldn't go early in the evening. I think I was the dad taxi that night. So that's why I got there a bit late. But yeah, I'd really like to go back when there's still a bit of light in the sky, when that neon light is on. I think it would look really good. Next, we're back over at Wynnum. This is just like a car park, I think it is. And yeah, it looks a bit Agent Shadowy here. You know, I wish I had a model being Agent Shadow there in that sort of alleyway, but I didn't. So that looks kind of cool. It looks, I think it's done a good job there. The next one is just of an apartment block, and you can see there's the bright lights of those fluoro lights on each floor of the building. It looks like, you know, there could be a dead drop there for Agent Shadow or something. Perhaps something sinister is going on, I'm not sure. The next frame you will know if you've watched my videos before is that alleyway in Wynnum with the fairy lights. It looks really cool. I mean, like, there's a lot of, I don't know what it is. Is it like halation sort of thing around those fairy lights from this film? I'm not sure what it is, or what halation's the right word even, but it does look a bit different than the other images on color that I've shot here before. A couple more pictures of Wynnum. We've got the bucket and spade there with the fairy lights, and the gelato shop also with the fairy lights. The next one is one of my favorite ones in the roll. In a window, there's actually this dummy with a spotlight on her, and I took an image, and I think this looks really nice. I think this has turned out really well. I really like how her head's tilted back, and you can see her neck and the you know, the shawl on her. and 2 images of the railway. That's just one of the train stations there. Again, not much detail on the shadows. And the last one here is a similar image I've shot on color before. And I think this one actually looks pretty good. You know, you've got the detail there in the station and the lights, and you can actually see some nice light there along the track, sort of leading you into the image. So as I said at the top of the video, I am not much of a black and white shooter. I mean, are these good black and white images or bad? I really don't know. My knowledge of this kind of film and this process is kind of a little bit alien to me. Now, another consideration about shooting this film is the cost to get it developed. Now, if you home develop it yourself, well, you won't need to listen to this. However, I'm kind of time poor. I like to spend all of my time shooting and making videos and podcasts and things like that. So adding home developing to my mix is another thing I've got to do. I just don't want to do it. I'd rather outsource the film developing and the film scanning to professionals. So I always send my stuff down to Kigai Film Lab. Now, regardless of what film lab you're sending your black and white to, black and white is always more expensive to get developed and scanned. To get that one roll of Agent Shadow done was about twice the price of a regular color roll. So, you know, will I be shooting a lot more Agent Shadow? Honestly, I won't. I'll either probably shoot one more roll and see how it goes. The rest of it, I'm probably going to sell, or I'll probably give away to people who I know will enjoy shooting it more than me. So what do you think? Have you shot Agent Shadow? Have you pushed Agent Shadow? I would love to know. Tell me all about your Agent Shadow adventures in the comments below.